Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this edition of Primetime Newscast on Canal International. I'm called Maureen. We'll begin with our top stories. Another separatist general corps publicly displayed in Bamenda this morning by the Cameroon military. Saw Armstrong, alias General Ebube, was killed alongside his girlfriend on Monday in their camp in Alabu camp quarters in Mankon. He is said to be behind the explosive that killed some government officials in soldiers in Bengui Road. And Cameroonians continue to decry the increase in bread prices by some retailers. Not only has the quantity and quality badly dropped in major cities, the retailers have increased the 200-gram bread from 125 francs CFA to 150 francs CFA. And weight as substitute is known to be problematic in Cameroon, and as bakers continue to understand the weight of high cost of sea freight, experts say alternative to wheat is difficult to come by as government has failed in its agro development program. Those are major stories. Details right ahead. Good evening once more. Welcome to this edition of Primetime Newscast on Canal International. Inhabitants of Bamenda have since this morning been rushing to the city chemist roundabout to catch a glimpse of a corpse of yet another separatist general was killed by a military operation in Alabukan in Mankon. He is said to be behind the explosive that killed some government soldiers along the Bengui Road. More on that story with our reporter, Saleh Sherifa.
The corpse of a separatist fighter, General Ebube, has been placed at the city chemist roundabout in Bamenda's Biusi commercial district this Wednesday, February 16. The dead body has been displayed there by the Cameroon military, whom, according to other pictures and voice message making rounds on the social media, Nso Armstrong, alias General Ebube, was killed alongside his girlfriend on Monday in their camp in Alabukam quarters in Mankon, including his second-in-command, Nte Ngwe, and 4 others after tip-off from an informant, which started with the arrest of a middleman. At the chemist roundabouts, people have been calling round to see and even snap the mortal remains of the pseudo general, who is said to be behind the recent planting of the deadly explosive at Bengui Road, which claimed the lives of some government soldiers, leading to the burning of houses and killing of civilians. At the time the military closed up on them in their camp, the 2 top fighters were in full-blown love action on Lovers' Day, while a visit to their warehouse saw a stock of explosives being prepared. Some war guns and ammunition were also found in their possession, and the few houses that make up the camp finally set on fire. A stretch of the Bamenda Bengui Road has been blocked for some weeks now around Tualam by separatist fighters after one of them was killed as the military surprised them on board a civilian car as they were collecting money from passengers traveling to or from Bengui.
And Cameroonians continue to decry the increase in bread prices by some retailers. Not only has the quantity and quality badly dropped in major cities, the retailers have increased the 200-gram bread from 125 francs CFA to 150 francs CFA. Consumers' trade unions have urged the government of Cameroon to regulate the situation before things get worse. More on the story with our reporter, Hyson Cha.
There has been much noise lately on the prices, quantity and quality of bread. Most consumers feel unsatisfied with what they get these days from the different bakeries. Leaders of consumers' trade unions cry out.
Les producteurs de pain jouent au petit malin.
Bread producers are playing a lot of fishy games. They give the impression that bread prices have not been increased. But the reality is that the heights and sizes of the bread has drastically dropped. The consumers have no means of measuring the weights of bread. Out of the 150 bakeries that we have visited, all the measuring units of production have been reduced. The homologated sizes and prices of the highly consumed delicacy remains clear. For the homologated sizes, we are normally supposed to have bread quantities for 150 francs, 200, 250, 300, 400 and 500 francs. A standard some bakeries are trying to respect.
Yeah, we are selling the bread for 125. That is 200 gram. The one for 100, that is 100 gram. And the one for 50 francs, that is 45 gram.
But the exorbitant increase of the cost of flour puts the bread producers in a very complex situation. It is very difficult on us. The prices of 50 kilograms of flour has moved from 18,000 francs to 22,500. But we have not increased the prices of bread. It is not easy at all. Though the price hasn't changed, in most of the production centers, little retailers within the neighborhoods have already raised the price of the 200 grams of bread from 125 to 150 francs.
And we all know that wheat substitute is known to be very much a problematic in Cameroon, as bakers are trying to understand the weight of high cost of sea thread. Experts say alternative to wheat is difficult to come by, as government has failed in its agro-development project. More on that story with our reporter, Kejan Henry Atembe.
For a very long time now, Cameroon continues to rely on heavy importation of wheat and cereals for bread production. According to experts, the second and third development plan to produce wheat and cereal in Adamawa and Fumban are considered as a fallacy, for it would have permitted the growth of these products on a large scale. But the government holds climate change variables and the coronavirus pandemic are blamed on low productivity. In order to enhance substitute, experts think the government should support large-scale cereal production entities like Maïs-Cam by regulating huge importation and reliance done by brewery companies. Despite government's move for local substitutes like cassava and potatoes, critics think existing quantity is not enough to sustain local households. At the start of the year 2022, the Association of Bakers had threatened to increase the price of bread, which stands at 125 francs per 200 grams of loaf. According to the association, the intention is to shift high cost of sea freight to the consumers. However, the government was quick to react by turning to Turkey as an alternative supplier. Though many farmers are cultivating substitutes like cassava and potatoes, they cannot do that in large scale due to the absence of farmland.
Some teachers of the basic education sector are crying out aloud against a non-payment or delayed in years now. Some of the reasons advanced by teachers for abandoning their posts of duty in schools across Cameroon. The content of a correspondence in response to a warning note by the Minister of Basic Education for teachers to regain their duty post. More in the following story with our reporter Udmu Kusumi.
According to some leaders of teachers' trade unions, most teachers are frustrated by their working conditions in school across the country.
Teachers are the personnel in the public function that are in very difficulties in their job. They are suffering very bad.
Contrary to the warning of the Minister of Basic Education that teachers who have abandoned school should return to work or face sanctions, the pedagogues advanced numerous difficulties that cannot permit them stay on duty, among them lack of salaries.
The ministry recruit the teachers, and after 2, 3, 4 years, they don't have matricles, they don't have salaries. How can they live? How can they work in this condition. It's very teachers who are recruited to just have the matricles. When they have the matricule, they follow others' preoccupation, others' job.
Currently on a 5-day strike action, they urge the basic education boards to take measures in addressing their deplorable situation and thereafter take firm actions against the voluntary recalcitrant teachers.
You just have to ask to the ministry that you have to be conscious of the difficulties of teachers. You have to understand the teacher and to applicate the sanction to those who are absent in the field of work.
The striking mode, they say, they all go to school but do not teach. These are the detriment of the learners.
Actors in the digital rights sector have met in Douala to find or seek new ways to make digital rights more respected. The meeting, organized by an international organization, Paradigm Initiative, comes at a time where digital rights continue to be respected in Cameroon. More on the story with our reporter Regina Leketandak.
Digital rights are human rights, and in any context, these rights need to be respected.
Even though recognized in Cameroon as human rights, access to internet and other digital rights have often been abused, from internet blackout to data violation to internet bullying. Digital rights in Cameroon continue to be violated.
There is a lot of sexual harassment online, particularly with women, and we think that it is very important for us to outline these things. The online platform should be one that generates relevant content and not that which bullies a particular set of people based on their agenda.
Paradigm Initiative, an international organization working to connect African youth and underprivileged communities with digital opportunities, before the press this Wednesday in Douala, presented its 2020 annual report. It was also an occasion to screen a short film, Focus.
Focus, like the name says, it's a short film that is drawn from Paradigm Initiative's 2020 annual report. That's an annual report on digital rights and inclusion in Africa. You know, bringing down the report into a film can be interesting and catches the attention of people to know more about their rights, which is why we are here to use the film as a means to advocate for digital rights and security in Africa.
The meeting, codenamed Digitalks, brought together digital rights activists from across Cameroon with objective to find new ways of making digital rights more respected.
The demand for the Women's Day fabric is high, but supply seems insufficient. A disturbing rupture in stock noticed these Wednesdays in markets across the nation's political capital, Yaoundé, at the lacking supply center situated at Avenue Kennedy, leaves lovers of this year's orange and purple fabric disappointed. More on the story with our reporter, Beatrice Ngamu.
The desire to acquire the Women's Day fabric is very high, seen in the long queues of men and women in front of the lacking sales point in Yaoundé. But after long hours of wait, anger sets in.
Il n'y a même pas d'abord les pagnes. Ouais. Vous dites quoi? On nous dit que les pagnes sont finis. Après 15 minutes, on nous parle que le pagne est fini. Franchement, depuis 4 heures vous-même. Comme dans mes 2000 masses, je pars. J'ai l'argent. Cash.
Wasn't, as they were told, there is rupture in the stock at that supply center. The buyers find it difficult to digest the fact that just in front of the building are traders of the circumstance, selling same fabric at a cost of 10 to 11,000 CFA francs, far from the original 6,800 francs. Information we got from official sources of the record is that the most cherished fabric this year in the orange and purple colors will be available in large quantities on Friday, leaving divergent opinions. As a woman, I'm supposed to wear the fabric. I'm obliged to come on Friday. I'm not coming again. Is it an obligation? With the prices of the fabric in the market, these already sewn ones are also option for many, as prices ranges from 3 to 7,000. Unlike at lacking, affluence to get the cabas still timid. Worth recalling here that the excitement and rush for the 8th March fabric is due to the return of traditional Women's Day March past.
An advocacy continues to heighten for the educational sector to institute effective inclusive education in Cameroon's schools. These statistics reveal that thousands of disabled persons or children cannot go to school. People living with disabilities say it's high time all got the fundamental right to education irrespective of their handicap nature. Hyacinth completes that story.
According to statistics from Handy Up, Cameroon got 68 inclusive institutions of learning, and out of the over 17 million pupils and students in such schools, only about 700,000 disabled children are amongst the learners, while close to 7,000 of the handicapped children do not have the means to go to such schools. It is in this light that the disabled, through this conference, is stepping up advocacy for inclusive education.
People living with disabilities, so we need for their inclusion education, and in this conference it is possible for all that people to know that school is very important for all of us.
They decry the neglect of the vulnerable who in return find themselves in risky practices.
Nous voulons une société égalitaire où tout enfant a droit à l'éducation.
We want an equal society where all children have the right to education. It is out of place that we see children under 14 years involved in little businesses where they are supposed to be in school. We don't want handicapped children remaining home. We want them to go to school. Bringing some students during this moment of exchange was also an occasion to preach tolerance and living together amongst all groups of persons.
The three recent publications of a book for kids titled The Adventures of Dodi the Tortoise has been presented today in Cameroon's economic city, Douala. The cartoon version was equally projected at FENAT to the satisfaction of hundreds of children who sang and danced the rhythms of The Adventures of Dodi the Tortoise. More in the following story.
Whether they are science guys or adventurers, children can choose from a lot of great cartoons with strong characters in leadership roles. One of those books and cartoon is The Adventurer of Dodi the Tortoise. Dodi is seen here as a role model for children with thematics that touch day-to-day realities in an immediate environment. Dodi tells children to always tidy up, wash your hands all the time. Dodi says no to child theft. Dodi says no to drug. Dodi in the village. Dodi cleans his environment. Messages carried in the 7 publications by Cameroonian writer Michel Bilong.
Nous avons 7 ouvrages actuellement avec les livres de Dodi. À l'époque, nous en avions 3. Maintenant, nous avons eu des innovations. Dodi dit non à la drogue, qui est un message fort pour la jeunesse camerounaise, nationale et internationale d'ailleurs. Nous avons Dodi rend sa ville propre, qui joue, n'est-ce pas, sur le psychique de l'enfant.
The Adventurers of Dodi the Tortoise is seen as a code of conduct in society where moral decadence is becoming a practice, a civic education to guide a child to become an honest citizen.
La collection Les Aventures de Dodi la Tortue se présente à la société, la nouvelle société camerounaise, comme un véritable outil didactique.
While making known the 3 last publications of our book to the public, the cartoon version was projected for the admiration and satisfaction of the kids.
And that report brings us to the end of this edition of the Primetime Newscast in the English language and Canal the International. We have news in the French language at exactly 19h50 ou à l'English Lenkanga. As for me, I'll be back same time tomorrow. Good night.